SS Marine Electric sank tragically, taking some of her crew with her and icing out almost all of the rest of them, leading to drastically important changes in maritime safety laws. Though not widely known outside of the ship community, SS Marine Electric's sinking is an enormous part of maritime history. And later that year, a plane crash intricately tied to the sinking would also change aviation history forever. SS Marine Electric was built by Sun Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company of Chester, Pennsylvania for the U.S. Maritime Commission as a Type T2 SEA-1 tanker, hull number 437. She was laid down on January 10, 1944, launched on May 2nd, and delivered on May 23rd, first named Musgrove Mills. In May of 1947, she was sold to the Gulf Oil Corporation, renamed Gulf Mills. In May of 1961, she was purchased by Marine Transport Lines and renamed Marine Electric. She was modified by the addition of a new midsection for bulk cargo transport, built at the Bremer Vulcan Yard in Bremen, Germany, which was then towed to the Bethlehem Steel Company Yard in East Boston. This extended the ship's length and increased her tonnage, and the work was completed in November of 1962. However, the Marine Electric was showing its age, exhibiting corrosion and damage to the hull and other structural elements. I mean, even if we look at the pictures of her, she looks old, corroded, and in desperate need of maintenance. And this is coming from someone who is no structural engineer. If you are enjoying the video, make sure to subscribe, leave me a like, and let me know in the comments section. As for her final voyage, Marine Electric put to sea on February 10, 1983, sailing from Norfolk, Virginia to Somerset, Massachusetts, with a cargo of 24,800 tons of granulated coal. Marine Electric sailed through a fierce and ultimately record-breaking storm that was gathering. The Marine Electric neared the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay at about 2 a.m. on Thursday, February 10th. She battled 25-foot waves and winds gusting to more than 55 miles per hour, fighting the storm to reach port with her cargo. The next day, she was contacted by the United States Coast Guard to turn back to assist a fishing vessel, the Theodora, that was taking on water. The Theodora eventually recovered and proceeded on its westerly course back to Virginia. Marine Electric turned north once more to resume her normal course. In the early morning hours of February 12th, members of the crew noted that the ship's bow was riding low in the water. Multiple mayday calls were made to the Coast Guard starting at 2:51 a.m. In response, USCGC Point Highland was dispatched. Shortly thereafter, the Marine Electric unfortunately capsized, killing 31 of her 34-man crew. Not all of them went down with the ship. Many of them drifted in the freezing cold northern Atlantic Ocean for 90 minutes, so many of the victims succumbed to hypothermia. Rest in peace to the 31 men lost in the sinking of SS Marine Electric. During the course of the investigation into the ship's capsizing, representatives of MTL theorized that the ship ran aground during her maneuvering to help the Theodora, fatally damaging the hull. They contended that it was this grounding that caused the Marine Electric to sink 5 hours later. However, these theories were disproved by the factual evidence discovered during the Coast Guard investigation. Investigations by the Coast Guard, led by Captain Dominic Calicchio, and independent examinations of the wreck discovered that the Marine Electric had left port in an unseaworthy condition, with gaping holes in its deck plating and hatch covers. These had been noted at multiple points by surviving chief mate Bob Cusick, who testified that no effort had been made by MTL to rectify the issues. The hatch covers in particular posed a problem, since without them the cargo hold could fill with water in the storm and drag the ship under. Investigators discovered that much of the paperwork supporting MTL's declarations that the Marine Electric was seaworthy was faked. Inspection records showed inspections of the hatch covers during periods when they had in fact been removed from the ship for maintenance. Inspections were recorded during periods of time when the ship was not in port. A representative of the hatch covers manufacturer warned MTL in 1982 that their condition posed a threat to the ship's seaworthiness, but inspectors never tested them. Yet Marine Electric was repeatedly certified as seaworthy. Part of the problem was that the Coast Guard delegated some of its inspection authority to the American Bureau of Shipping. The ABS is a private, nonprofit agency that developed rules, standards, and guidelines for ships' hulls. In the wake of the Marine Electric sinking, questions came up about how successfully the ABS was actually doing the inspections it was delegated, as well as about whether the Coast Guard even had the authority to delegate that role. Also, there was a conflict of interest in that the inspection fees paid to the ABS were paid by the ship's owners. Thank you so much to our amazing YouTube members and patrons. If you'd like to have some awesome perks like episodes a full day in advance, join our YouTube memberships today. In the aftermath of the sinking, the Philadelphia Inquirer assigned 2 reporters, Tim Dwyer and Robert Frump, to look into old ship catastrophes. In the series, the writers concluded that government programs designed to strengthen the merchant marine had actually kept unsafe ships afloat. Frump later wrote a book, Until the Sea Shall Free Them, about the sinking. In the wake of the Marine Board report and the newspaper's investigation, the Coast Guard dramatically changed its inspection and oversight procedures. The Coast Guard report noted that the ABS in particular, quote, cannot be considered impartial, and described its failure to notice the critical problems with the ship as negligent. At the same time, the report noted that, quote, the inexperience of the inspectors who went aboard the Marine Electric and their failure to recognize the safety hazards raises doubt about the capabilities of the Coast Guard inspectors to enforce the laws and regulations in a satisfactory manner. While the Coast Guard Commandant did not accept all of the recommendations of the Marine Board report, inspections tightened and 90-year-old World War II relics still functioning 40 years after the war were sent to scrapyards. In 2003, Coast Guard Captain Dominic Colicchio was posthumously awarded the Plimsoll Award by Professional Mariner magazine, in part because of his role as a member of the Marine Board of Investigation. Additionally, the Coast Guard required that survival suits be required on all winter North Atlantic runs. Later, as a direct result of the casualties on the Marine Electric, Congress pushed for, and the Coast Guard eventually established, the now famous Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer Program. The tragedy also resulted in tighter inspection standards, a much-needed and incredibly important change. As for her legacy, Chief Mate Bob Cusick credited his survival of the sinking to the Stan Rogers song, The Mary Ellen Carter. The song details the exploits of a loyal crew working to salvage the titular vessel, and more specifically the last stanzas were repeatedly sung by Cusick in order to keep himself awake in the pounding Atlantic swell. Following his ordeal, Cusick wrote a letter to Stan Rogers detailing his ordeal. Rogers responded by inviting Cusick to what would be one of his last concerts, announcing on the stage that upon his return to Canada, he would write a new song specifically about the sinking of the Marine Electric. Unfortunately for him, before this could happen, Rogers was killed aboard Air Canada Flight 797, leaving the song unwritten.